I'm Gabrielle, the Hot Yoga Doctor. I've been helping thousands of people around the world with my approach to hot yoga. My mission is to take the struggle out of your hot yoga practice and find the sweet spot in every pose. The passageways on the way to the alveoli make up what we call the dead space, because there is no chance for gaseous exchange and you don't get any benefit from the oxygen you are drawing in. The more shallow and quick your breath cycle, the more air stays in this dead space, and the less air gets to your lungs and the less wastes are removed. You could take in exactly the same volume of air in slower and deeper breaths, and you not only draw more air into your lungs, you use more of your lung space. Learning to access a deeper breath can be quite surprisingly challenging because you are literally opening up dormant areas of your lungs that have rarely been exposed to this life-giving elixir. Now let's look at how you can use breathing technique to grow your lungs. If, like me, you were originally taught to make a buzzing or singing noise in your throat in the pranayama-breathing exercise, then you may find it difficult to know how to access good breathing technique for the rest of class. I know many students still do this. It really isn't necessary to vibrate your voice box or larynx to access deep breath. I want to approach it in the opposite way and just run through how you can breathe generally throughout the class and then expand the technique for the pranayama exercise at the beginning of hot yoga and Bikram yoga classes. I used to do this funny buzzing technique for a while, but I found it very irritating to my throat. It made it itchy and tickled. I would often cough or have to stop because of the discomfort. Before, I talked about the way you use the diaphragm and your posture to draw the air in. Your body creates a negative pressure and the air rushes in. Still, you can create even more rush of air in the way you use the system of pipes that connect the outside to the inside. What you're trying to do is slow the breath down. This helps you draw much more air into the lungs. How do you do that? By forcing the air through a constricted space. This is actually a well-known scientific principle described first by Bernoulli and then Venturi in the 1700s and 1800s. The Venturi or Venturi effect applies to liquids and gases. It is what happens when air flows through a tube that narrows. The air accelerates. There are also some complex effects with pressure, which means that if you breathe really fast through this constriction, it becomes harder to breathe deeply. Which means when you breathe slowly through this constriction, you can actually get more air down into your lungs. The constriction that you need occurs higher up than the larynx, with the glottis at the back of the throat. On the flip side, gasping breath is a different habit that doesn't work either in or out of the studio. This engages your sympathetic responses, creating a panicked, shallow breath again, high in the chest. Experiment by gasping some air and notice how you can artificially set up that feeling of panic. Notice how shallow the breath is. You might also try to breathe in quickly through your nose. Even with a decreased opening in your throat to try to create that increased flow, when the breath is inhaled quickly, you will feel your tummy actually snaps in. Try it. Try it with your stomach sticking out. Now that's really difficult and works against your body's panic response. Only when you breathe in slowly through your nose will your diaphragm move and allow a good, relaxed, full, expansive breath. Ujjayi pranayama is the mindful, controlled breathing exercise that many yoga instructors teach their students and should be used throughout your entire class. Although you will develop a silent Ujjayi breath over time, a great way to start your breath awareness and to build your skill is to make your breath audible. This doesn't mean buzz or sing though. As I said before, this can make your throat itchy or irritated and also cause unnecessary energy expenditure. And importantly, it is not good because it can distract you from developing the quality and depth of your breath. What you want to do is cause that partial closing or constriction in your throat that will create that sound like the ocean or rushing wind with a characteristic of white noise. This sound is caused by the air rushing through the now narrowed pipe that lies between your mouth and lungs. Here is a diagram to show how the venturi effect works. The air comes in one end at a slower speed, and then with the narrowing of the airway, it picks up speed to actively fill the lungs. The slower the breath, the more you fill your lungs. The same principles are used with the hot yoga pranayama breathing exercise. In Bikram and hot yoga, the pranayama exercise used is inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. The exhale breath is often taught as opening the mouth wide and just letting the air come out. While students usually figure it out for themselves after a while, it is a difficult exercise to get from this instruction. When you inhale with that partial occlusion of the throat, you draw the air in. Let the diaphragm move down, belly out, keep the chest lifted. Capitalize on sound principles of breathing, which include optimizing your posture and maximizing your venturi effect with effective throat constriction. On the exhale, use the positive pressure in your lungs plus the forceful contraction of your intercostal muscles to add power to your natural exhalation. If your mouth is open too wide, it is almost impossible to effectively constrict the right part of the throat. My favourite description of this sound is telling my students to make a ha sound like a hairdryer. It not only describes the sound, but gives a real sense of how you have to force the air out. Add the throat's constriction and you can find real power. The more powerful your exhale, the more you empty your lungs. The greater the negative pressure is created in your lungs, which will create a deeper inhalation when you use your Ujjayi technique on the next inhale. Now, to really enhance your pranayama exercise, you firstly want to make sure that your inhales are full and your exhales have you thirsting for your next breath. Then, when you finish your introductory exercise, treat your whole class as an extended pranayama or conscious breathing exercise where you have attention on that rushing sound in your throat and when you inhale and exhale through your nose. Too many students only use the pranayama exercises at the beginning and end of class with conscious awareness. Then the rest of the class is practiced with only partial breath awareness, if it exists at all. Instead, learn to make the breath the union or the link to your life and your yoga. Practice conscious breathing as often as you can. Once you understand Ujjayi breath and how to use it effectively in your pranayama exercise, your new skill of proper breath regulation will transform even the most challenging poses. Even the big back bends like camel and the huge compression forward bends in poses like rabbit. Wouldn't you love to feel a sense of vitality and endless breath in these poses? As you already know from the examples before, it is not just physiology that will affect your ability to breathe. An enormous determinant is your emotional health and well-being. This yoga has the ability to transform you emotionally to create the calm and stress-free life that most aspire to. Moving your body will release much of the emotional baggage that you have locked inside your body, but there are no shortcuts to learning good, deep, mindful, oxygenating, life-giving breathing. Loads of new hot yogis often complain that they can't breathe in the studio. Are you beginning to see that it is not that they can't breathe, but maybe for the first time in years they're actually breathing deeper and more fully than they've ever been able to? The asanas are providing the space and some emotional cleansing. The lungs simply take longer to catch up. Remember that pranayama breathing is not just an exercise that tops and tails your class, it's helping you set up mindful, conscious breathing that you do for your whole class, maybe even in your day-to-day life too. Thanks for joining me. Namaste.